Hello everybody. Welcome to our session today. We're going to be talking about best practices for managing large-scale localization. Let me introduce myself and our speakers here today. My name is Aisling Nolan. I'm the VP of Customer Success at Smartling. I've been at Smartling for a little over 9 years, from Ireland originally, and currently living in Philadelphia. I'm joined here today by two great localization experts. So Yoko Suzuki. Yoko is the Director of Globalization and International Product at DocuSign. And we also have Ella Petlika, who's the Senior Program Manager, Internationalization at Pinterest. Yoko, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Yoko Suzuki. Brief description about myself. I have been with DocuSign for 7.5 years, seeing various stage of in terms of growth in international from 0 to exponentially. And also have about 20 years of experience in engaging with international market in very various ways. Most relevantly, previously also managed localization at Microsoft. And I currently live in the Seattle area.
Very good. Thank you, Yoko. We're looking forward to hearing some of your best practices today. And over to you, Ella. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Ella Petlika, and I'm very happy to represent Pinterest today. I'm dialing in from a little foggy San Francisco, and I've been with Pinterest for the last 3 years. I have nearly 15 years of experience within the translation and localization industry. I worked for a really long time on the vendor side, and then I moved up to a startup to run localization program there. And then 3 years ago, I joined the Pinterest team where I manage localization for our scaled platforms content.
Very good. All right. Thank you. Well, welcome. So I guess to kick things off, it would be really great if you could tell us a little bit about what your localization programs look like at DocuSign and Pinterest. We're talking here about, best practices for large-scale localization. They're both pretty large, well-known companies, so I'm sure it'd be great for our audience to learn a little bit more about, the program itself. So how about you, Yoko? Do you want to tell us a little bit about DocuSign's localization program first?
Sure. I have a team members. We have focused on 3 areas. One is language experience and localization programs and operations, and international product management. And we also have an extended team of globalization engineering, supporting language and regional experience feature implementation and automation, also building QA tools and localization pipeline. We do, in terms of the vendors we work with, we have 3 vendors, including, translation agencies, as well as tool vendors. We have pretty much automated way of pipelines via SmartLink API integrated with our Jenkins. And we also have, SmartLink connected with CMS through connectors. And we also try to grow the area of empty workflow right now, machine translation. In terms of the scale, like number of languages, volumes, and content types, we cover all product user interface and product documentation, support documentation, training courses, and anything that is related to digital and marketing experiences. And we have a various different product line at DocuSign, and we support up to 44 languages as of now.
A lot of content types, a lot of languages, a lot to manage. Okay, and Ella, how about at Pinterest?
So at Pinterest, we have a centralized localization. So all localization happens within the internationalization team. internationalization is part of the globalization team at Pinterest, and we sit within EPD, engineering, product, and design. And the internationalization team, we have 3 specific smaller teams or pods. One is responsible for product localization, product QA, the second one for marketing campaigns and sales content, and the last pod is responsible for scale platforms or other online content supporting our main product and campaigns. We work with 3 vendors on our program. In terms of the technology and tooling, we are centralized, so we use SmartLink TMS. We leverage a significant number of content connectors, and we also started leveraging machine translation for a lot of our production a few years back. Our product is available in 41 languages, so it's usually the highest number of target languages that we support. And in terms of what we do product localization, including product QA. We work on documentation, internal, external, training, legal, marketing content, image, video localization, all the way through even providing copywriting services. So a lot of variety within the content that our team deals with.
Definitely. Lots of it's, I mean, there's definitely overlap. It sounds like both at Pinterest and DocuSign, all sorts of content types, over 40 languages, lots and lots to manage. Okay, well, I guess that leads to my next question. So managing localization at scale is not easy. Really doing anything at scale, I don't think is easy. So what would you say is critical to doing this successfully? And before we hear from you, for those watching, please drop in the chat what you think might be necessary for scaling successfully too. We'd love to hear from you. So how about we start with you, Ella, this time?
So something that you definitely want to consider is to make sure that your content and your operations everything that you do is fully operationalized. And it starts with 3 things: centralization, integration, automation. So you'll want to centralize your localization operations ideally within one TMS, one platform. You'll want to integrate as many content ecosystems with that TMS to make sure that your operations run smooth, run flawlessly. And then as much as possible, you'll want to automate as well to make sure that your processing time is shorter. Now, if that's not your mindset from day one, it will over time become an operational debt. And it's easier to deal with that, all those items at the beginning, then wait until they bubble up. It's way more difficult to implement those changes once your production is more at full scale.
Really great advice. Thank you. How about you, Yoko?
Yes, I 100% agree with what Ella said. Centralization is super important to scale. On top of that, localization team is typically not as big of a team, considering, how many teams that we are dealing with outside of our team, right? If we're, in the previous conversation, we did talk about both Ella and I have extensive assets to be, localized. So we're touching in so many number of different, cross-functional teams. So our job also is to make sure we enable cross-functional teams and make sure that localization is part of all processes end-to-end and, not afterthought. This is actually really challenging. So you really need to go in and evangelize that way. And even though, once you set up your processes with the core team or cross-functional team, you want to maintain. We always make sure to maintain the process even once established. Is it managed okay? Do we need to modify our current processes? What about, new hires and new management, new operation comes, all the things that has to be considered. So we periodically going to have informed to those teams is important.
Very good. Okay. So yeah, something that you both talked about there is the importance of working cross-functionally and enabling those cross-functional teams and ensuring that localization is part of all those processes. What advice would you give to companies and localization teams who are starting to scale in terms of getting the buy-in to make that happen? Ella, why don't we start with you?
I would say just be proactive when you're working with your cross-functional stakeholders. As soon as someone new joins, get them on a call, drop an invite in their calendar in week 2, week 3, introduce yourself, introduce your function, have some reference materials, a slide deck ready so that they can leverage it in the future. But try to understand what their goals are, what the goals for their program, their teams are. Because once you do that, you'll be able to better align with them and you'll understand how you and your function are able to support them in reaching those goals. And that's probably like the most important thing we can do, just to make sure we share the same goals and we enable our cross-functional stakeholders to reach their goals. That's how we can prove the value easily. And at Pinterest specifically, we are very lucky because internationalization or international is part of the new hire onboarding. So everyone in week 1 learns about our international markets, how many languages Pinterest is available in. So in a way that already builds that sensitivity for the international user that makes the job of our team easier.
So cool that you guys do that. Love it. Thank you, Ella. And how about you, Yoko? How do you go about getting buy-in for cross-functional teams?
Yeah. So surprisingly, a lot of people at DocuSign heard of localization in some way, but not in the depths of what we do. So we always encourage my team members and myself to evangelize and spread the word and let cross-functional organization know who you are and what you do and why localization is super important part of what they do. So similar to what Ella said, we did have onboarding for new hire. Also, I encourage to participate in lunch and learn sessions where we can talk about what we've been working on, initiatives or, tooling or new processes. And also, we do have a demo day that we can also contribute to. And all of this are, to make sure that cross-functional teams understand what we do, how they can work with us.
Cool. Very good. Thank you. Okay, so going back to doing things at scale. So to me anyway, doing something at scale typically implies speed. How do you approach balancing speed, quality, and cost in your program as you do this at scale? Yoko, do you want to talk us through how you approach it?
Yes, I think these are all, trade-offs. And when it comes to all that, it comes to prioritization. But most importantly, I would align with overall company strategy around international expansion and growth strategy. So we can trickle down what we need to do accordingly. And again, prioritizing, based on that, we can prioritize what content needs to be covered. If not 100%, we can cover. What is the criteria? What is the acceptable approach for each market that we're expanding to?
Very good. Okay, thank you. And how about you, Ella?
So definitely +1 to everything that Yoko said. I just wanted to add maybe some food for thought, something to consider for you in the future. We often talk about quality, but there's different people understand quality in a different way, and also different types of content require different quality levels, different quality thresholds. So probably we wouldn't apply the same level of quality to, let's say, our legal content and to our internal documentation. So knowing your stakeholders, knowing the content you're working with is one of the keys to determining that. And in terms of the speed, something that I seen in the past is that when we want to build something very quickly and launch very quickly, we risk of compromising the long-term scalability due to that very fast launch. So if something breaks, if something doesn't work, we try to patch things up very quickly. It's not a long-term, not a sustainable solution. So it's also worth discussing with your stakeholders, like what's more important for us? Do we really need to do it quickly? And if yes, can we go back and improve our long-term process? Or is it maybe better for us to take a little bit more time, invest in building a really great scalable process to start with, so that we can achieve that faster production speed, faster go-to-market speed for all our future launches? So again, just food for thought for everyone.
That's great. Thank you. Lots of good thoughts there. Okay. What are some ways that you each measure the impact of your localization program? As we all know, we can't improve if we're not measuring something. So it'd be really great if you could talk us through how you each approach that. Yoko, how about you?
Yeah, so I'd first think about what is the revenue impact to the company if we localize a product into a new language or languages, and what are the contribution in expanding business to new country and region, right? So its impact. With that said, when we already have products being localized and available to international markets, I would look for net promoter score, for example, to make sure that how users internationally are using the features, and is there anything that we need to address for further. And for localization, I would look for as a KPI, number of support cases related to localization, customer escalation, and from the countries and languages. So those are the main KPIs that we have been working towards improving.
Very interesting. Thank you. How about you, Ella?
So definitely these are very valuable KPIs, everything that Yoko mentioned. I would add to that at some point especially when you are deploying machine translation, you might want to provide data on the savings that you are generating for the company, either through machine translation or through other means. I also think that it's in general very important to provide general metrics as to what we are doing as a team. So these could include the production volumes, how much money we're spending on our localization work, what are the quality metrics, the number of tickets, number of requests, traffic data, and these are important metrics to just show this is what we are doing every day. That's how we are proving our value. And also long-term, seeing those metrics, the volumes, the number of requests go up year by year, it could also help us build a case for getting more people, for getting more help and more support for our program.
Very helpful. Thank you. Okay, so as we wrap up, one kind of last discussion topic, as companies prepare to scale, add new languages, expand into new markets, and so on, how would you recommend that they begin? Ella, how about you?
I think that what I mentioned earlier on, so think about how you can operationalize your program. So centralize, integrate, automate. We mentioned getting champions, getting support from above, just convincing teams that localization needs to be top of mind for everyone, not just for our team, because it's a massive strategic effort and it just needs strategic support. If you are very early on, I would say look around you and see what resources you could potentially leverage. You might have some internal resources. These might be people who are not part of your team, but are already present in the markets that you're trying to target, part of your marketing team, marketing managers that are on the ground. Maybe you are able to partner up with these individuals just to work with them as your content approvers to make sure that the content you're producing lives and breathes your company's tone of voice. And look at your vendor as well. I actually like to think about vendors as partners because we do have a partnership. Like our success is their success as well. They are very invested in making, they will be very invested in making you successful and your program successful. And sometimes the vendor will help you scale and offer new type of services that you're not offering today. And they might be especially critical to you if you're launching into markets or expanding into languages that you internally have little knowledge about or little experience with. And I'm thinking specifically of bidirectional languages like Arabic, where simply having this very close collaboration with your vendor really helps.
Definitely. All right, thank you. How about you, Yoko?
Yes. So when a company is ready to or preparing to scale, add new languages and expand to new market, we definitely have to be, as a localization, part of the stakeholder from the beginning. Usually it consists of not just product localization, but, marketing folks and sales and enablement. Everybody has to be informed and on the same page about this new, expansion strategy, right? So with that said, I would just think of my team charter, what we should accomplish in the mid and long term. So, expansion takes long time. It doesn't come overnight, 6 months, maybe it's a 1 year to 2 year initiatives, right? So it's a little bit longer. So I want to make sure that I'm putting the right resources in place accordingly. And then building localization strategy is also super important because also finding an executive sponsor to support you so that you get right investment for your tools, resources, and budget with that strategy.
Very important. Yeah. Really great insights from each of you. Thank you. So with that, that's actually all we have time for today, unfortunately. Thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you to Ella and Yoko for participating. Really, really great thoughts and insights and tips. For those of you who asked questions today, we'll follow up with you directly. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.